Hi, everybody. Sorry for the little delay. Noah is just coming up the escalator now, so he'll be with us in a second. My name's Scott Feinberg. I'm with The Hollywood Reporter. And here he is. Please welcome Noah Baumbach.
How long were you vamping?
No, it's all good. It's all good. Well, congratulations. Today's a big day. This is going out into the world. How do you feel?
Good.
Yeah.
It's nice to be here.
How?
I want to thank everybody for coming to the movie theater.
Yes.
Yes, you should applaud that. Yeah. No, seriously, it's a big deal. I think it's Netflix gave us a whole month, which is the most they've done, and for a movie before it goes on the server. And so anyway, it's great you guys are here.
So can you talk about how long ago the idea of a movie about marriage and divorce first? I mean, it's sort of popped up in a number of your other films, right? But this particular kernel of an idea, when did that start?
Well, I was thinking over the last few years. I've been thinking about sort of driven to find a way to tell a love story, kind of maybe a new way to tell a love story, and in a way I found it in sort of in the story of a divorce. I mean, I was sort of basing it on that sort of theory that when something that you're familiar with every day stops working, you know, if a door that you go through every day suddenly is locked and you can't figure out how to open it, you look at it in a different way. It suddenly reveals itself to you. And I thought, well, then maybe in telling this, you know, through the narrative of a divorce, I could actually kind of investigate marriage, and tell a love story. So you have been closely a witness to divorce as the child of a divorce, as somebody who's been through one. It's also the case with a number of your collaborators on this, and I think it's interesting and unusual the way that you consulted not just your own experiences, but also from the writing process on some of these other folks and integrated things. Can you talk about, you know, is that something you've done in other scripts where you're working with the actors from that early on? Well, in Meyerowitz, I brought Adam and Ben in pretty early. But yeah, with this one, I also did a lot of research on. I interviewed lots of people who've gone through divorce and also professionals who work in the divorce system, lawyers and judges and the mediators, and I. But it worked sort of. I found it invaluable. I mean, having Adam and Scarlett and Laura in my mind while I was writing, both gave me, you know, it's inspiring. But also I think it gave me confidence to push scenes in ways to do things that were more formally, you know, might seem risky under, you know, a 5-page monologue. Generally, an adult screenwriter might tell you, you know, you got to show that in flashback or something, you know, or probably not implied. They tell you not to do flashback, but you know, that we should see all that, not be told it. But I thought, you know, with Scarlett doing that, it could be really compelling. But also, they just provided. We talked not only about, you know, personal matters and relationships, and for the, you know, people's experiences of divorce and marriage, and but just the movie in general and movies. I mean, Adam Driver and I've been, now this is our 4th movie together, and we've been friends for a while. So it's we constantly have a kind of thing of just things that come up. It could be you know, oh, you should look at this movie, or check out this haircut. You know, he's big on that. He sort of had a Noah haircut in this. Well, yeah, that when I said check out this haircut, we haven't done that movie yet that I'm talking about. But I just thought it was interesting. It looked like a familiar hairstyle. Well, you know, I'm literal.
Well, also unusually early in the process, for compared to most people, you brought in your editor. Can you talk about literally writing the script to tailor to things that she was suggesting?
Sure. Jen Lame, who edited the movie, this is our maybe 5th movie together. We started on Frances Ha, and she's wonderful. I mean, she's somebody I would wait for her to make a movie. I really feel like Mike Nichols had said once, which I think is a great quote, and it was very true for him because he was an interpretive director. He didn't write, the scripts, but but was such a personal director. And he said, every director needs a buddy, and I think that's true. It can be a lonely business, and that buddy can take on many different forms. It can be more than one buddy. I mean, Adam has been a buddy, but Jen has definitely been a buddy. And what we do is I bring her in. Yeah, I give her the earliest drafts, and in a sense, what we do is we edit the script the way we're going to edit the movie, so that I can, save. We don't have to shoot this stuff. That we're not gonna, that we're not gonna use, and then I involve her. She'll come to rehearsals. I will. We talk throughout the shoot. We talk twice a day. We talk when I drive to the set. We talk about the day ahead and what I think I want to accomplish and how we see it in the sort of body of the whole movie. And then we talk at lunch about the dailies. We shot on film the dailies, so they come actually 2 days late. So we talked about the dailies from 2 days ago, and did I do all right? What do we need? What did we get it all? So that when we're in the editing room, I feel like we've kind of arrived there together. I mean, it's the same way of working with the actors. It's that when we start to shoot, we get on set. We've spent all this prep time. We've rehearsed, and the same thing is true. I see no reason why not to do it with all collaborators, so that you all have as much information, and you've kind of arrived at these things together when the rubber hits the road. And
I guess one thing that all of the aforementioned people were involved with you, and I think it's one of the more memorable, of a lot of memorable parts of this movie, is the opening, I think about 8 minutes sequence of the things I like about, they're saying about each other. You have put together a montage of all kinds of things. I think you've said that some of them are just images that have been in your head for years. Some of them are just a variety of reasons. And then paired it with the work of another collaborator who's pretty amazing, Randy Newman, who has not scored a dramatic film in 20 years, comes in and has to do 8 uninterrupted minutes to all these varying stories and emotions. I just think it's a pretty impressive feat of filmmaking for all of these people in one sort of microcosm. So how did that come together?
Yeah, well, that montage it's a big part of the movie. I mean, obviously it begins the movie, but it also sets. In a sense, it sets a tone that then the movie sort of kind of pulls the rug out from under you, and it puts something that felt so immediate and present and intimate. It kind of makes it instant history. But the truth is, I felt as the movie continues, the little things, the mundane things that were there still exist. And that was always so important for us, that love exists in every scene of this movie, no matter how contentious things get. And by having that base, I feel like the audience then has those sort of, those sort of little things in their mind. But working with Randy Newman, what a great part of this job is to work with people who you've grown up with. And he didn't grow up with me, but I grew up with him. It's one-sided growing up. I sent him the script also very early on, and he wrote back a nice note, and he attached the file, and I listened to it, and it was just him playing the piano, and with on his iPhone recording it on, you could hear. It's his studio's in the back of his home, so you could hear him being called for dinner, and lawnmowers, and but it was this beautiful, just beautiful, and it made me cry, and I kind of took it with me throughout the shoot, and it became a thing. I sort of was like, I hope I make a movie that this feels like this, and. And then a year and a half later, we were at the Alfred Newman stage at Fox, who's Randy's uncle. People don't know Randy's comes from this big, long line of musical people, and has cousins. Thomas Newman, David Newman are also composers.
You're a loser in that family if you haven't won multiple Oscars.
Yeah. Which was true of Randy, I think, till Monsters University. Yeah, he was nominated 18 times or something. But so, and then we're recording now with a chamber orchestra. We're recording that exact cue that he sent, and it's the cue that plays when Charlie is out on the landing looking at the photos in the first time, and then it plays again at the gate, and then at the end of the movie.
Yeah. Music comes up in another way, unrelated to Randy, in the scene of Adam Driver singing Being Alive, which is such a powerful, unexpected, sort of just show-stopping moment. And I wonder if you can share why that's in there, what it represents to you, because I think that's, for a lot of people, one of the moments where you're like, this is an incredible performance by somebody who you've worked a lot with.
Well, Adam and I have talked about Company over the years, and even the sort of notion of, is there a movie of Company, we sort of talked about for a little while. And in doing that, I was listening to the score a lot and thinking about it and watching old performances and on YouTube, and the notion of Adam singing Being Alive was so compelling to me. I felt like, well, even if we don't do that, we just find a way to justify it in a movie. And I half joke that I reverse engineered this entire movie to get him to do that. But it was a note I had as I was, there are many of them, but as I was working, sort of how could I arrive there? But what was interesting about the material for me is that there were many hidden genres in it that revealed themselves often in different scenes. There's kind of a screwball comedy at times. There's a thriller aspect at times, courtroom procedural. There's a horror movie often. It's a love story, and it's also a musical apparently. And as I was going, I also felt like, well, she should have a song as well, and it's from the same. If you know Company, her and Julie and Merritt's song is also, I felt like it was a way for them to be talking to each other and without talking to each other.
Laura Dern has been great in many things, but the dialogue or the monologue that she has in here, and just some of the peacocking of just the way she'll crawl up on the couch and or stuff in the kitchen, so scene chewing or scenery chewing. It's just great. You had not worked with her, but you knew her and knew her skill set for a long time, right? Could anyone else have played that the way she did?
Well, I mean, Laura and I are basically the same age, and I in a sense, I grew up with her too. I mean, when I started in my, I don't know when I was, my early tweens, maybe, where like when Mask and Smooth Talk and Rambling Rose first came, and then of course Blue Velvet and Wild at Heart blew my mind, but yeah, I'd become friendly with her, and she was also a real companion in the process of this movie. And I said, I want you to play this lawyer, and that's the thing too. You're sitting alone writing the script, and you write the lawyer, Nora strides across the room, says, "Sorry, I look so schleppy." That's you have Laura Dern to give you that idea. That's not just something I think. Again, I come out on my own. Same thing with the monologue. I felt like, thinking of Laura delivering it and shooting that with Laura was fantastic. I mean, it was not dissimilar to many of the kind of maybe the bigger moments in this movie where the actors were so in the pocket that they would like swim through these things. I mean, Scarlett with her monologue, Laura with hers, Adam, with the song, or they were so inside it, and so that it's that thing I tend to do a lot of takes, but a lot of that happens when the actors are bringing so much of themselves to it and bringing all this life to what I've written that they give me ideas. So then I sort of see what is possible, and it's that thing. It's like almost like their workload grows as good as they are.
She's a family favorite, right? Because she's also in Greta's Little Women.
She's in Little Women, and she's wonderful in that.
Yeah.
And a completely different part, and it's she's living with us.
Yeah. The last of the specific scenes I want to ask you about is the fight sequence, because it's so grueling just to watch, let alone I can't imagine the process of making it. So how many takes, what were you looking for? I believe there was very specific writing and direction of how that should go down.
Yeah, well, that was shot over 2 days, and it was the most difficult thing I've ever done or shot as a director, and the most rewarding thing, and difficult because the scene itself wasn't difficult. They were wonderful, but it was just to play those moments over and over again, and see what they were doing, and really the exhaustion and the toll it even was taking on them. It became really important to take breaks and kind of, if you could, in a perfect world, you'd say, like, let's go shoot some more of this next week or something. But you have to stay in it, and but it was to what you're saying. It was extensively rehearsed and blocked, and that scene, like the whole script, I mean, the overlaps. The dialogue is exact, and the overlaps are exact. So, like, where people come in and when they, when you should come in on somebody else's line.
Even when he starts crying, right?
Yes, even when the breakdown happens, the hitting of the wall, all those things. So, I mean, in some ways, it's not dissimilar to like working on like an action sequence or something. In that I feel like we have everything down, and the blocking, we rehearsed it in the location, and with them, and they found their way into. I had a kind of idea of how I saw the scene going, and they found their way into so it could work within, that it felt right to them. And I find that having those parameters, that kind of, in some ways, some kind of safety net for everybody, it then allows the actors the freedom to go and let go, which was required. And you see what they did in that scene. It's remarkable. And that feeling didn't stop. I mean, we're editing at those scenes. Again, there's 2 days. There are a lot of takes. Jen and I would watch them, and then we'd have to stop. We'd be like, I guess take 3, 7, 11. Let's go go get a bite. But again, it's so rewarding as it would take its form. Because of what they are doing.
Well, if we can close, we'll take 3 questions from the audience. I emphasize questions as opposed to soliloquies, pitches, etc. just in the interest of time. So let's start here, please. Yep.
Hi. You mentioned that you worked with the actors, that you gave them that safety zone in terms of the blocking. But the direction, I gotta say this. Congratulations, it's an amazing movie. The writing, directing, performance is phenomenal. But with the directing, did they, like in Scarlett's monologue, she goes into the bathroom, she comes back out. Like, was that something that you staged, or was it something that she said, listen, I think I need to get up, I need to move around? Like, how much is that collaboration in terms of the blocking?
Well, it's all staged by the time we're shooting it. But it depends on the actor, because sometimes I actually find with both Adam and Scarlett is they're very open to whatever, you know, if I feel like, I want, movement, or I just would rather you go over there in a way. I mean, the fight scene, I felt like the blocking had a lot of real logic to it, because in a way it almost plays out how their relationship for the whole movie, which is she's kind of trying to get him to see what's happening, and he's walking away, and and so that's kind of how it ended up playing. Is he keeps finding, I'll do these dishes now, or I'm going to go into, pack up Henry's room, and she's trying to get him to focus, and then he finally focuses, and we see at that point why he's afraid of focus, of coming forward and of confronting, because he's hiding, he's protecting himself, understandably. And so the monologue, I had an idea, that of how I thought it should be, and that's pretty much what you see. I'll say though, in that monologue, is, even though Scarlett has a song as well as Adam, I think the monologue and being alive actually are kind of.
Go back to the table, and then he goes back to the microphone.
Yeah, they're kind of shadows of each other, or mirrors, or something that feels like the thing it's in front of, and then what was that? Yes, and it's the only time that the camera moves. It's without being motivated by physical movement. I mean, and there's a lot of movement in the movie because people are moving a lot, but the push in on Scarlett and the push in on Adam and being alive, I felt like it's internal movement, it's emotional movement, it's something is changing, and we can't help but move in.
Let's give somebody way in the back a chance, and we're not seeing anything, so we'll come back up. Go ahead.
So I never noticed quote-unquote cool shots in your movies until like the third, fourth, fifth viewing, because I'm so engrossed in the story. But I'm curious about some of the conversations that you have with your DP, in this particular case with Robbie. The wonder with Scarlett, how like negative space in Los Angeles versus like the frame being so colorful and filled in New York. Like, how do those conversations look like, and when do they take place? Are they in pre-production, or are they on set, or are they over?
It's in pre-production. We prep a lot, and we prepped in New York. We shot in LA first, but we prepped in New York, so we knew we had a whole game plan for New York before we all kind of relocated to LA, and then we came back and had a week sort of break / prep again, and then we shot New York. But yeah, those are things Robbie and I, it's not dissimilar to working with the actors. We get together, and we in the beginning, you're often looking at references. We're looking at movies. Bergman's Persona was a big reference, because we knew we wanted a lot of close-ups. It's in those conversations we decided to change the aspect ratio from how I've ever shot before. It's 1:6:6, which is a narrower, the aspect ratio, if you don't know, is sort of the size of the frame that you're watching, and I think it frames the faces in a beautiful way. And I knew there's a lot about, sort of as you were pointing out, a lot of the movie is about internal and external, at least the way we were kind of approaching it visually. So you have, both for them, their internal life versus the external life, but also we're in a lot of rooms where you can see, the space outside. It's like a painting or something. You can't get there yet, But all those things come up, and then as we find the locations, that then informs a lot of stuff. And suddenly the locations give you new ideas. Blocking that you maybe kind of had theoretically doesn't work in the new location. You get a new idea, a better idea, hopefully. Something we were talked a lot about was point of view, because the movie, I think without calling attention to itself, sort of plays on this notion of who are we with. So like when, the first part of when Nicole goes back to Los Angeles, we're with her. It's really kind of her movie. So even when Charlie re-enters, we're with her experience of Charlie. Charlie's almost a character in her day, But once she serves Charlie and after they read Stuart Little, it kind of starts to shift over. Now we're more with him, and when he returns and he's got the Frankenstein outfit, he's trying to convince her. Now she's more almost like a character in his day, but once they're in the mediation with Bert and Nora, everything's over there, each one of their shoulders, and it's shared at that point forward for the rest of the movie. And even when the lawyers are talking to themselves, we're never with the lawyers. It's always with one or the other of them. Everything is their experience, the whole movie, and those are things that come up and become sort of exciting ideas that that when you're there you have them and you're ready to implement, knowing of course that every day on set provides new stuff and ideas, and you want to be open to all of that always.
That is so interesting about the over the shoulder, and I didn't even think about that.
So I think I gave a soliloquy instead.
No, it's great. Well, we actually are out of time, but that was worth the answer. So thank you for coming. Thank you for doing
Thanks,
it. No,
Scott.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.